Hello, and welcome to Retro Console Living Room. This video is part of a series called Let's Take a Closer Look, where we take a closer look at video games and systems that don't get talked about very often. On this episode, we have a very obscure video game console called the Light Games LCD Color Projector. The version I have here happens to be the Italian version, which is called Projector Mega Video Game. An absolutely awesome name for a video game console. We'll be taking a look at this along with a whole mess of games for it. So stick around. First, let's take a look at the packaging. So this is the Italian version that was released by Fantastiko, because the system is Fantastico. It was created by Playtime, and I know for a fact that this system was released in the UK by Grandstand, and also in other regions by Playtime. Here's a screenshot on the front of the box that gives an example of exactly what the games looks like. So these would have been LCD games. On the back of the box, we can see some more. This is very similar to what Tiger tried to do with the R-Zone, especially when they released the R-Zone Super Screen, which added color overlays to R-Zone games instead of just having to play them in LCD red. Of course, I'm positive that this is better than the R-Zone because the R-Zone is terrible, even though I haven't played this system yet. Here we have a look at what the console looks like. So we have a projector, a cart slot, power switch, 2 action buttons, and directional controls. Now, this system is still sealed, so we can see right here the original tape is holding the system together, and on the other flap we still have it taped. So what we're going to have to do is cut this open. Now, I know what you're thinking, is it really worth it to cut open a rare video game console to play? Isn't it worth more sealed? Well, it probably is, but fuck that, I want to play it. That's the beauty of video game collecting, is you get to actually play these things. They're not baseball cards that sit in cases or other types of containers. Video games are made to be played, and this console was made for enjoyment. And I'm going to open it up, and together we'll enjoy it. It's always awesome opening up something this old for the first time. Okay, so let's take a look at what's inside the box here. Not sure which way is which. Okay, so we have an inner box. Kind of looks like a face here. So we see this guy's eyes and his nose and his mouth, and he's like, "What are you doing to me?" Well, mister, we're going to play you. So I'm going to start disassembling this and cut to when I have it open. Okay, so I was able to accomplish my task. I was able to open the box and get to the projector. So here's what we have. Let's take a look at it. So here's the front of it, up, down, left, right. 2 action buttons, cart slot, projector. Our on and off switch. Looks exactly like the package. It's pretty small. I have a Genesis game here, for a size comparison. So it's a little taller than a Genesis game. And it's, maybe 2 or 3 games thicker in the upper area there. On the back of the console, we have what looks like a spot for 4C batteries. And I like that this door is on a hinge. The hinge is a really nice feature, because what you have a lot of times is you don't have a hinge feature, so a lot of older toys and handheld video games like these that are battery powered lose the battery door. I ended up paying like $20 for a battery door for my Rob the Robot or something ridiculous like that, because I found one in the wild that didn't have a battery door, and I got a good deal, and I got on eBay, and the cheapest thing I can get was like 17 or 20 bucks, and a huge amount of money for shipping. So let's put some batteries in it and see how it works. But before we do that, I said we'd look at video games. So let's get some games out here. there are two basic kind of games for the system. You have sports games, which look like this. And all the sports games I want to show you have the exact same box art. So this game here is basketball, and this game here is karate. The only differences are the stickers in the upper right hand corner on the cartridge box. Let's take a closer look at the game. So the other thing I know that you're thinking is this, like, Rob, using a brown couch, doesn't someone else use a brown couch too? Why, yes, someone else does. Beavis and Butthead. I don't know, I don't think their couch is brown. Obviously Ashton's does. I do happen to have a brown couch. I've been doing these Let's Take a Closer Look series for about 2 years now on Reddit. Some of the posts get very popular. Some of the posts don't. And, you know, every time I do one, about a dozen people ask me if I'm Ashton's. I'm not. I just happen to be a guy who also owns a brown couch. So back to business. Here we go. I got the game out of the box. It comes in a nice molded plastic case. And let's take a look at the cartridge itself. So the cartridge itself, you can see it has a transparent piece. This is, again, very similar to a Tiger R-Zone game. It's got a few pins on there to go into the console. It has a very simple label on it. It says, press cartridge firmly until you hear the click, and the mark line is level with the top of the projector. So we can see the mark line, we can see the text. This is copyright 1988 Playtime products. This system, as far as my research can tell, was released in 1998. Possibly this version of it in Italy was released in 89. And it looks like it was marketed at least from 1988 to 1989. So what else do we have in the box? Well, we also have a controller overlay. Anyone who's familiar with retro 70s and 80s consoles has seen controller overlays before. So ColecoVision, Intellivision, Arcadia 2001, even Atari Jaguar in the 90s had overlays for the console. So this tells us in Italian what each of these buttons does, which isn't super incredibly helpful to me, but I'm sure I can figure it out. It's just 4 buttons. We're going to press them and play them. Obviously, these are designed to punch out, so you just put this over it. I'm clearly not going to punch it. I'm going to save this in mint condition. Also in the box, there should be some instructions, and there are. So while we're talking about instructions, the console itself came with instructions. These are the game instructions, and here's the system instructions. So we're just looking at, you know, very generic folded piece of paper, no color booklets, no really cool extras in the instruction manual, which is something I really look forward to in, you know, retro video games. It's entirely written in Italian. I'll probably do some translating before I finish this video, so I know exactly what I'm doing. Probably also not going to look at every game I own, but we'll get a couple of different variants. So we'll take a look at a couple of the sports games, and then we'll take a look at a couple of the action games, like Inferno here. Now what's weird is one of the action games that I have is a car rally. So again, just like the sports games, these are the same console boxes. But the car rally, the rally racing game, is not a sports game. It's an action game. So we see a firefighter. That's probably the Inferno game. We've got a ninja attack guy. There's a ninja attack game. There's an air battle game. So we saw that on the back of the box. I'm not sure what else there is, because it's all written in Italian. So on the back of each box, you know, we do see every game for that particular series. So here we can see every game in the sports game series, and then I'm going to switch, and now we can see every game in the action game series. Since I'm in front of the camera and not behind it, I really hope that came out clear and doesn't look all fuzzy. I'm going to have to reshoot it. Alright, so I'm going to get some batteries in this, and we're going to test it out. I'll be right back. With the flick of the switch, the console comes on. The feet of the console can be adjusted for height. And in and out motion focuses the picture. Formula 1 is the game on the system that is most like a 70s arcade game, where the goal is to keep driving and not crash into other cars. But sometimes it doesn't really give you a choice. The game kind of breaks or even cheats. Watch this. Okay, I'm going, and nowhere to go. Let's take a closer look at that. Okay, so if I would have went up to the left position, I would have crashed into the car in front of me. If I would have went to that position and then moved right, I would have crashed to the car to my right. And of course I couldn't take the right lane, so there was really nowhere to fucking go. When the game does work though, it's one of the better games on the system. It's intuitive, it's easy to pick up, and you can get on a roll and then just keep going with it. I'm playing on game A, but there's also a game B that's a little faster and more challenging, which is also kind of fun actually. As far as Projector Mega video game systems games are concerned, this one's actually fun, especially when you die because you made a mistake like I just did. Rally Challenge is the other racing game or driving game on the Projector Mega video game system. Interestingly, it does not hail from the sports series like Formula 1 does, yet from the adventure series. It's an adventure in the desert, much like my home in Phoenix, Arizona. The game I find is extremely realistic. Just like in any rally race that you've seen on TV or in person, the finish line is constantly moving. And so if you don't make it to the finish line, you'll hit an invisible wall and it's game over. Of course, also just like in real life, there are many obstacles to avoid. This game is pretty easy and it's reminiscent of 80s and 90s Tiger handheld LCD games. It's straightforward and there's not a lot to figure out, but just like Formula 1, it tends to break after a while. Here you'll see that I was doing pretty well, and now I'm going to start and it's going to put an obstacle right in front of me. So I'm just going to start and crash and start and crash and start and crash until I'm out of lives and I die. Like most people all over the world, when I think of basketball, the music I think of is La Cucaracha. This game feels like a weird Tiger version of basketball meets maybe Pong. So early 70s home first generation consoles. The basketball comes in, and all you have to do is prevent it from hitting the floor by moving your character underneath it. As you continue to play, you'll get more balls. Right now, I have a pair of 2 balls. Going back and forth, hitting the balls. Uh-oh, now I have 3 balls. Oh, 3 balls. I'm not sure how many balls you can have at one time. The most balls that I've ever had was 3. Admittedly, that one I didn't see. Oh. Eventually, you run out of balls, and the game is over. Here we have Calcio, which I never knew is what soccer is called in Italy. I thought like most European countries, there it was called football or something like that. This game starts out a lot like basketball does, except... Nah, just kidding, there's no except. This is the exact same game as basketball, except there's a different background image on the screen, and there are different animations. Otherwise, yeah, it's the same game re-released, just slightly modified. Moving on. Starting in the left corner is me. Here's the other opponent, and now I come out and I have no arms or torso. Oh my goodness, there's another boxer. I am pressing buttons furiously. I've translated and read the instructions for Pugilato, or, you know, boxing. And I don't know how this game works. I don't know if it's broken. Like, am I supposed to not have legs? Look, he has no legs. Like, seriously, what's going on here? I don't understand why I'm fighting two boxers. Or why they're blinking. But they seem to have one. Hellfire is kinda hard. The goal here is you start as a little firefighter at the bottom of the screen. Then you gotta run up and grab one of the ladders. It's a lot like Frogger. Think of the ladders as the logs. So I'm waiting for a ladder, and I've missed. So if you miss the ladder, you fall to your death and die. So I'm gonna try again. Here we go, ladder. So I got the ladder that time, and then I fell because I didn't get the next ladder. Here we go. Gotta get one of those ladders. Okay, I got the ladder. So when you get the ladder, you move with the ladder. You get to the next ladder, and you get your guy in the window. So in this game, the background actually plays a pretty big role. Now, once you get all the windows full, you still haven't won yet. Then you have to navigate up all the ladders with the fire hose and put out the fire, which I haven't done because this game is hard. So now that you've seen the Projector Mega video game in action, what do you think? If you want to know what I think about this game console, I think it's unique. I think it's an interesting part of video game history. And this, of course, would be tried again. So Tiger would have a projector version of the R-Zone, which was the R-Zone Super Screen. But this is basically very similar to a Tiger R-Zone kind of concept. Obviously, this came much earlier. This was released in 1988. I've heard that some regions have releases as early as 87. Is this for everyone? Probably not. This is probably only for a collector who is really hardcore into collecting weird and rare consoles. Or maybe you're just, or maybe someone who's just like a projector fanatic. I'm going to say the Projector Mega video game system is right for them. As for this game, none of the games are remarkable. So you have two of the games are juggling, basically. They're the same game with a different screen overlay and a little bit different graphics. Inferno is kind of interesting, but it's still derivative, and it's just really hard. So a lot of the perspective isn't right. So as much as we like to shit on Tiger games, Tiger actually did a much better job designing games in an imaginary space in LCD than the designers of the Projector Mega video game system did. And of course, Nintendo with Game & Watch was one of the kings of that area. I mean, obviously Casio and others and Konami also made really good LCD games, but these do not rank with Casio, Nintendo, and Konami or even Tiger. So if you don't think that owning this is really cool, then don't own it.